Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Believe in Bengal podcast. Yours truly, Solomon Wilcots. We've got a great show in store for you coming up a little bit later in the show. Cincinnati Bengals offensive line coach Frank Pollock is going to join us to talk about the Bengals' phenomenal first-round pick, Amarius Mims, and a whole lot more. But before we get to that, I want you to know about BetOnline because it is the number one source for all of your summer sports seasons, including Major League Baseball, golf, NBA, as well as NHL playoffs. Of course, you can get your latest stats, news, and all of your scores available to follow your favorite team. Of course, you can head to the website today and use your mobile device also to bet on player props and any of the great matchups going on in the great sports. All you got to do is go to BetOnline is where the game starts. All right. Look, we have to have a conversation because, as you guys know, the 2024 NFL schedule for NFL teams has been released. And to me, there is no game that stands out more than the Week 2 matchup because the Cincinnati Bengals have to go right back down to Arrowhead Stadium to renew the great matchup between, I believe, the great quarterbacks in the National Football League, and that is Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow. Of course, our Joe Burrow leads the series 3-1. In the 4 games when both quarterbacks have squared off. I think Jake Browning did a really good job last year in the game when the Bengals went to Arrowhead Stadium. It just goes to show you, I think these two teams are so evenly matched. I can't say enough about the job that Zach Taylor has done, not giving, of course, Patrick Mahomes the ball in the final seconds of the game, whittling every second off the clock as Joe Burrow is going down to either get a game-winning field goal in overtime in the AFC Championship game or get a game-winning touchdown in the regular season matchups that the Bengals have been able to win against the Kansas City Chiefs. Zach Taylor has gone toe-to-toe and play for play with one of the great play callers in our game, that is Andy Reid. And Joe Burrow has taken down the great Patrick Mahomes. There's only 2 quarterbacks alive that have a winning record against Patrick Mahomes. One is the GOAT himself and Tom Brady. The other is Joe Burrow. And so we all have to get down to Arrowhead Stadium, get your barbecue. That's right. But don't forget your season tickets. The Week 2 contest at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City when the Cincinnati Bengals will go down and take on the Kansas City Chiefs. I think it's going to be a great game. Again, another matchup between Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow, and all eyes will be on that matchup. It is must-see TV. Also, we got to talk about this a little bit because A to Z Sports Film Room has a reporter by the name of James Foster, and he has made one of the biggest and boldest statements that I have heard about the Cincinnati Bengals in quite some time. He said that the Bengals' 18th overall pick in the 2024 draft, the first-round selection of Georgia offensive tackle Amarius Mims, that he will be a bona fide Hall of Famer. They said of any player in the 2024 draft that Amarius Mims has the best chance of finishing his career as a Hall of Famer. Now, I'm going to ask Frank Pollock about that one, but I can tell you right now, if you want to know what you're going to get with Amarius Mims, the kid is big, 6'7", 340. He's huge. He blocks out the sun. If you're standing on the wrong side of him, you're going to think it's nighttime and it's broad daylight, high noon. He cast a big shadow. He ran nearly a 5 flat 40 at the scouting combine, 5.0.7. That's right, 0.7 of a second away from being a sub-5 flat 40-yard dash. At 6'7", 340 pounds, he's highly skilled. He's got the feet of a dancing bear. The guy is big and nimble, but yet powerful and explosive. He handles the bull rush. He can handle the speed rush around the edge. Still working on the counter move off of that. That's where he still can improve. But he can handle the run game. He can maul you coming off the ball in the run game. The guy has got everything that you want. And we're going to talk to, of course, Frank Pollock, the Bengals offensive line coach, due to the fact that he's only played and started, I should say, 8 career games at the University of Georgia. Now, I could tell you this. Even the great Malcolm Gladwell will tell you. Would you rather be a guy that had, maybe, average grades at Harvard or Yale? Or would you rather be the guy that got straight A's at La La Tech, at La La A&M somewhere? No, you'd rather be the guy that did okay in an environment that was truly competitive and tremendous, because that's what the University of Georgia's football program is. So what? You only started 8 games, but it was at University of Georgia, and he was playing in a rotation of guys where he didn't get all the reps, but the reps he did get every day in practice and every game he played in was against some of the best football players on the planet, some of the best football players in all of college football. So while it was a small sample size, it was a sample size against some of the greatest players, because while he was there, they won 2 national championships. And every day he was practicing against a lot of guys right now who went to Georgia who are now playing in the National Football League. So we're going to get to know a lot about Amarius Mims, who's going to be like a swing tackle, backing up Orlando Brown, at the left tackle position, and Trent Brown at the right tackle position. Both guys cast a bigger shadow than Amarius Mims. They're so large, they block out the sun. All right, that's going to do it for now. We're going to come back. And when we do come back on the other side, we're going to be joined by Cincinnati Bengals offensive line coach Frank Pollock right here on the Believe in Bengals podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Believe in Bengals podcast. Yours truly, Solomon Wilcox. And today we have a very special guest joining us, Cincinnati Bengals offensive line coach Frank Pollock, joining us on the show. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Are you kidding me? Hey, look, it's always great to have you on the show. I want to get started by at least, kind of digging into who you are as an offensive line coach. Offensive line coaches are some of my favorite coaches because I think that's a lot of where the pulse of the football team starts. We always say that players take on the personality of their coaches, and I don't think nowhere is it more true than with the offensive line. So take us inside just a little bit philosophically. What are you looking for when you're putting together as a whole your offensive line, what it is that you want to emanate from your group of guys who got to get it done up front?
Yeah, I mean, it really starts right away. You want smart guys. You want tough guys. You want guys that are grinders. You want guys that love ball. You want guys that are team players. You put your ego in the pocket when you enter the O-line room, and you got to embrace that. You got to love it.
Yeah.
So you're all about the team. You got to be able to play through pain. You got to be smart enough to deal with adversity. And when I say tough, I'm really looking for guys who are mentally tough. I mean, you played in the league as well, so you know what I'm talking about there. I'm not looking for 5 frat guys that just show up and get in fistfights. That's not tough. I want guys that can line up for 60, 70 plays with their hand in the dirt and do it the right way, technically, fundamentally, and smack a guy in the mouth to the whistle, then stop and do it all over again, and be able to make adjustments within drives and have the understanding, comprehension of what we're trying to accomplish from an offensive standpoint, and then from what the offensive line's responsibilities are to solve problems during a drive. You got to be smart. Defenses are intelligent and smart and fast these days. They're not going to stand still. They're going to move. You got to be able to make quick adjustments and handle all that. So you got to be able to be fast processors on top of all that. So there's a lot of requirements that go into all your normal physical attributes. I want a guy that can bend. He's strong. He's got length. He's got good balance. He's got quick feet. I mean, all those type of things that everyone looks for. But there's a lot of these other intangibles that from my playing days, and I know from your playing days, that's what cut the men from the rest. It's the guys who had the intangibles. You may have physical attributes that get you drafted high, get your foot in the door, but you don't last if you don't have those intangibles I just mentioned.
Oh, Coach, you got me all fired up now. See, I'm getting goosebumps over here. That's good stuff. And look, I can remember, and I still tell players today, you get yourself in a football game, don't look at the scoreboard. All you do is watch how your offensive line is going. If they're winning the day, if they're making plays up front, those 5 guys, There's no need to look at the scoreboard because that means you're going to be winning a lot of games. And it really does manifest itself in so many ways. I got to start by talking to you about your first round pick in this year's draft, Amarius Mims. This is a big guy at 6'7", 340 pounds. Look, there's a draft analyst out there for A to Z Sports Film. James Foster said that he has picked Mims as the sure shot player in this year's draft to make the Hall of Fame. Now, we're not going to go that far, but he certainly has a lot of dimensions that have caught the eye of a lot of people. When you're looking at Amarius Mims, what do you see?
Well, I see what everyone else sees, the size, the massive size, and the unique, freakish twitch and movement skills for a man that size. I mean, you see what he weighs, and you're trying to figure out where's the weight, because there's no fat, there's no rolls. It's just lean mass. It's impressive. Yeah. And he can move. What I've noticed and really been excited about having him here in the building for the last couple of weeks and working with him is he's extremely coachable. He's excited to learn more and add to his toolbox. He's got a strong desire to improve and excel. So he's like a big sponge right now and absorbing it all. He's been asking me a ton of questions. He's been asking the veterans a lot of questions, as he should, to get their perspective and learn. So he's been and he's got good work ethic too on top of it. So it's been fantastic early start for 2 weeks, and the sky's the limit for this guy. He's earned his accolades that he's gotten from what he's been able to do in college, and there's just a lot more there because what everyone else knows, he really hasn't played a lot of football. He's played enough to get you excited and kind of wet your whistle. Mm-hmm. It's all his best football is all ahead of him. So we're really excited to be able to coach him. I'm super excited to be the guy getting to coach him. And he's the guy that's just wanting more and more and more every day.
Yeah, and talk to me more about that, Coach, because despite the fact that he hadn't had a huge body of work, I think he started only 8 games in his entire college career. How were you able to say balance that? You look at the talent, you look at the traits, that's the skill set, but not a whole lot to look at when you put the film on. But what you see is impressive. Just the body of work was not that large. How were you able to sort of process through all of it and still say this is a guy that I want on my team?
Yeah, if you go back 2 seasons ago, the start number is a little misleading because they rotated 3 tackles 2 years ago, and those other 2 tackles are in the NFL right now. So he played a ton of football on a rotation basis. Wasn't quite the starter to get that little number of 8 to get bumped up. So he's got a good volume. You like to always have guys with more experience. So you watch all those games and you see him progress and grow and get better throughout the course of the season and into this year. And he would have had more starts because then they also had the ankle injury. So he had to deal with that last time. Then you look at the program that he's coming from and how they practice and prepare. Our scouts being there on the road and seeing that in practice, watching practice tape, knowing the quality talent on his own team that he practices against every day. The SEC in Georgia, he's seeing NFL talent on a daily basis. And then on a weekly basis, that, in the SEC, it's not like he's coming from a small school and only having 8 starts. That's obviously going to be a huge concern with a red flag. He's coming from Georgia, and they get after it down there, and he's got quality talent and quality work, not just on Saturday, but it was Monday through Friday there at Georgia. So with all that together and with just the incredible measurables and the upside that he has, I mean, it's that's how we got there. It's how we're real excited to have him as the Bengal.
Yeah, it's really smart processing, by the way. And look, he's 6'7", 340 pounds, but yet he's smaller than Trent Brown and Orlando Brown. What can you say about that? He's one of the smallest tackles, even though he's a very large and athletic man.
Yeah, you always got to keep them rookies in check. So we got 2 veteran tackles that can come up to him and say, "Hey, bud," But it's great. It's fantastic with those guys, Orlando and Trent, in the room with him, that he can learn and glean a lot of stuff, that similar body types and sizes. Yeah. I mean, he's probably a little bit more gifted overall athletically with all the measurables combined in one package. But those guys have played a ton of football and are going to be able to share a lot of things with them. And on top of that, just being a pro, what it takes, what's your routine every day? What is it on Monday? What's it on Tuesday? What's it on Wednesday? and sticking with that. And it's all the other stuff that what those guys have gone through with their careers already that he can kind of share with him outside of football, so he can kind of grow in that regards as well. So it's great having those two big guys in the room right now to help him grow and mature and become pro.
You've seen a lot of players come and go through this league, a lot of great, large offensive tackles. Is there anyone that sort of comes to mind in terms of the traits, the skill set? Big guy with sweet feet who has excellent balance, but still can explode. He seems to absorb the bull rush rather well, but then he's really good with any of the speed guys that can turn the corner. Does his skill trait and maybe his talent sort of remind you of anyone out there that you've seen or maybe coached before?
I'm never a big fan of comparing guys. I think that it maybe sometimes puts an unfair burden on the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's his own unique man, and he's going to be his own unique player. There's a few names that come to mind. I mean, I hope he becomes those guys. Some of those guys that jump out at you, obviously, you're thinking right away are wearing gold jackets.
Yeah.
But he's got a long way to go to work and improve himself out to be a great player in this league. We all think he's going to get there. That's why we drafted him where we did. But I mean, I've just never really been a big fan of comparing those. I've coached a few big guys. I mean, he's a freak and he's got a lot of talent. So he knows the expectations and he's ready to go attack it.
Yeah, there are a lot of names that come to mind, but you start to get goosebumps when you start to think about them and then try to do that comparison. So I can hardly blame you. It's an urge that we all want to do, but we should still kind of allow him to grow into the player that he's ultimately going to become. And I think that's the most fair way to go about it. As you look at your five guys up front on the offensive line and even the depth that you have now, Coach, the offensive line seems to be in a good place. A lot of people are saying so many positive things now about how much work you've put into these guys and where they're at. Can you give us sort of an idea of where they're at right now? What is it that you like about this unique group as we head into 2024?
Well, you mentioned depth. We got a lot of depth, guys who played. Like Cody Ford played some for us last year at both tackle and guard. I mean, Cordell's a younger player that's coming into his third season. We got a couple of young guys. We got one in particular that we really are excited about, Jackson Kirkland. That's showing some good promise as a developing player inside as well. Having Orlando and Trent Brown to help teach this rookie that we drafted high. He's a guy that so he can develop and not be thrust into a situation where maybe he's not quite ready or we have the luxury that we can let him kind of simmer a little bit, marinate a little bit more, get that where we're exactly where we want it. So it's the depth piece. I mean, the guys are working hard. I love the way they've been approaching this offseason. We've got one other new rookie from the 6th round and another CFA rookie. So those are 3 new guys in the room that are hearing it all for the first time. Everyone else are hearing it for the 3rd to 4th time. Second, a couple guys are second, but mostly 3rd, 4th time. So they're really comprehending and understanding our system. And that allows them to attack the off season, attack the drills, conceptualize. When I teach part, whole, and I'm teaching a part, they can understand where that fits into the whole and then attack that. They visualize and see, okay, this is what we're doing, big picture. It's this small part that we're trying to fine tune and sharpen our technique on this particular concept. So just a better understanding. So we got a great room, a lot of good pros. Ted Karras's leadership is outstanding. Kappa's leadership is outstanding. Orlando Brown's leadership is outstanding. They're getting all the new guys' numbers. They're pinging me for their numbers to call them right away. Yeah. I mean, I know you remember back in the day, the veterans that aren't always that welcoming.
That's right. That's right. So, you had to prove yourself first, right?
Right. So these guys do a great job. Hats off to these veteran guys and how they're taking the approach and welcoming these guys and as Bengals, and because they know that we're going to need everybody. And we got to bring everybody along, and so they're taking the right approach. So it's been a good 2 weeks as always. We got a long way to go. We don't even have our pads on. That's another thing I
Yeah,
don't get too excited about. Till we put the
that's right.
pads on. That's the other thing that separates. I mean, I don't care what you look like in your underwear
That's
in the
right.
spring and summer. When you put the pads on, then we're going to know who's the guys you can depend on. So that's for line play. That's everything.
Spoken like a true offensive line coach. There's no doubt about it. It's all a dress rehearsal until we put the pads on. Coach, one last question before we get you out of here. I just think it's, when it comes to really being the team that you want to be, you kind of have to measure yourself within your division. And I don't think there's any tougher division than the AFC North. Think about the guys that you have to prepare to block every week. If it's not Myles Garrett or TJ Watt, it's a Baltimore Ravens defense that kind of get after you a little bit. Seems like as an offensive line coach, you got your work cut out in a division like this. Just talk to me about philosophically the concepts of really preparing with those three teams within your division that allows you to be so well prepared for teams outside of the division.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to we mentioned already about toughness and the mental toughness.
Yeah.
You're going to put together a plan that's going to schematically set you up for success, but it's the execution and be able to make adjustments on that. But it's just the toughness. It's going to go down always in our division to the last couple minutes. It's a meat grinder. The NFL is a meat grinder as a whole, and our division by far is just an even more intense meat grinder. So we're well prepared when we earn the right to get in the postseason to deal with from a mental standpoint and have the focus and have our nose down on the grindstone, not get distracted, because it's what we dealing with our division. Now, we were disappointed in ourselves how we dealt with the division last year, not even close to our standard, and we got a chip on our shoulder in that regards, but you can talk about it all you want. We got to go out there and prove it. So we got our workout cut out for us. 3 good, tough teams, and it's a lot of fun just looking at from my preview. It's a lot of fun, man. It's all ball. It's old school ball. Let's get grimy and nasty and go out there and grind out some wins. And it's a fun place to play. The weather is not always pristine and pretty like it is maybe in the West Coast or some inside stadium, some sort of dome. It's ball. It's old school ball, and that's how it should be. And we love that. We welcome that. Our team is built and made for that. Zach does a great job with that as far as and Duke to bring in the right guys and how he preaches it and prepares the guys from a team standpoint. And we're just a microcosm of that. So it's fun. It's a lot of fun to be around.
Well, yeah, you guys have built a great culture for leadership and really the right mindset to how you go to work. And you got a team that really players all support one another. I think you should be commended on the way that you guys have constructed a phenomenal environment for football players to go to work and have fun doing it. Coach Frank Pollock, offensive line coach for the Cincinnati Bengals, none better in the National Football League. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on. It was great seeing you.
All right, we're going to step aside. We'll be back with more right here on the Believe in Bengal podcast. Welcome back, everyone, to the Believe in Bengal podcast. We want to thank Cincinnati Bengals offensive line coach, of course, Frank Pollock, for joining us here on the show. What great stuff. That guy gets me fired up to play ball. I absolutely love offensive line coaches. I'm telling you right now, they have the energy, they have the toughness, they have the mentality that you want for every guy on your football team. I love hanging out with offensive linemen. Before I get carried away and tell you more about the show, don't forget to get your Melin cap. That's right, Melin. They're made from melon. Great material. Remember, this is a light, breathable substance. It's great in terms of the durability on the bib. It forms to fit a square jaw or a round face. I think I kind of have a little bit of both. High cheekbones. So the Melin cap is awesome. And you can get yours by going to the website at melin.com/Bengals. MELIN.com/Bengals to get your Melin cap. They come in all kinds of sizes and shapes and beautiful, wonderful colors as well. Go to the website and pick out and get your very own. All right, look, let's close up the show with just having a little conversation about a couple of guys that I am so very proud of. And that's Trey Hendrickson and T. Higgins. Look, like any man, I'm a capitalist. I want my money. But these two guys, you know what they're doing? I do think two things can be true at the same time. You can still want to make a move and want to negotiate your deal, but still come to work. you got to be participating in the offseason training program. This is a Bengals team, according to Trey Hendrickson. According to him, who he said it, this is a team that can win a Super Bowl. We have the quarterback to do it, and we have the pieces on the football team to do it. He knows he's one of those pieces. And he knows that not showing up for work and not coming to practice and not getting himself ready for the grind of a long NFL season, he doesn't want to be the guy to hold the team back. And I commend Trey Hendrickson for picking up his lunch pail and still coming into work, doing everything he can to help this team move forward, to push forward toward a Super Bowl championship, and not be the distraction that he potentially could be. He's too good of a player for us to be assembling for work and he not be part of the process. Same with T. Higgins. T. Higgins has always been a guy that shows up, never complaining, always gets it done. Whenever we needed him to be a number one wide receiver in the game, he comes through. Over the course of his 4-year career, his 149 catches, have 80% of those have been either for a first down or a touchdown. That's an 80% ratio. Touchdown, first down ratio, just phenomenal. So I want to commend both T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson for reporting the work, the call to duty, and the call to action is let's get the chemistry going. Let's get in, let's get the work done. Don't we need the Cincinnati Bengals to get off to a fast start in 2024? Enough of this having to win 10 in a row just to get in as a wild card team, or we win the division on the very last week and have to come back the next week and play the very same team. I would love to see the Bengals do what I know they can do, and that's win home field advantage in the AFC playoffs. Can you imagine? Everyone has to come through Paycor Stadium to take on our Bengals in order to get to the Super Bowl and represent the AFC, where we have some great teams, some great quarterbacks. But if they've got to come in here in the cold, wintry January, oh, you know what it's like in Cincinnati in January. It's like playing in an ice box. I love to see the Chargers come waltzing in here. Even the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens, even though they're better prepared for it. So, look, I just love this football team. I love the players on this team. And I want to give a special thanks to Trey Hendrickson and T. Higgins for coming to work, man, and making sure that the chemistry is getting done, that the team is building and growing together in a phenomenal way that can lead to a very special season. All right, that's going to do it for this week's version of the Believe in Bengal podcast. I'm Solomon Wilcox. Thank you for joining us, everyone.